Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Genoa Township Board of Zoning Appeals. It is February 24th, 2026, and 7 p.m. We are at the Genoa Township Hall at 5111 South Old 3C Highway, Westerville, Ohio 43082. We have three cases tonight on the agenda. BZA case 2026-05, which is an area variance at 6155 Jaycox Road. BZA case 2026-06, which is also an area variance on at 6155 Jaycox Road. And then we have BZA case 2026-07, which is an area variance at 5626 Sedgwick Lane. We have staff present, Paul Benson, Joe Schaefer in the back, and Simon Bell in the back. I will call the roll. Miss Yu.
Here.
Mr. Wilcoxon.
Here.
Hi. Mr. Campanella.
Here.
Miss Guest.
Here.
Mr. Holleran. Here. Hiding in the back, I see. Actually, you're in my line of sight tonight for a change. And Mr. Phillips is absent. I will read this statement into the record. As is the adopted policy of the Board of Zoning Appeals, all applicants will be granted an opportunity to make their formal presentation. The audience will then be granted an opportunity to comment, followed by questions from the board. This policy was adopted by the Board of Zoning Appeals to provide for the orderly discussion of business scheduled for consideration. The chairperson may limit repetitive debate. At this time, we'll review the meeting minutes presented by the Genoa Township Development and Zoning Department for the hearing that was held last month on January 27th, 2026. And I will entertain a motion to approve when you are ready for that.
I've reviewed, proposed motion to accept.
Okay, second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Yu. Any amendments, any revisions, anything? Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, none opposed. And any abstentions? Okay, then we will move along to our first public hearing at 7:03. And I will read the legal notice into the record, and then I'll swear the applicant and any other parties in. Christopher and Kristen Lundak requesting approval of a variance to exceed the maximum impervious surface lot coverage at 6155 Jaycox Road, Galena, Ohio 43021, currently zoned rural residential RR, and this is BZA case 2026-05. Those that wish to appear and speak on this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth? I'm sorry? Am I supposed to stand as well? Yes. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, and I assume that no one else is going to be speaking on this? Okay, on this case. The legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on February 11th, 2026 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on February 4th, 2026. An attempt to mail notice of this hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was also made. The following will be marked as exhibits A through E. The legal notice, sign-in sheet, application, staff report dated February 18th, 2026, and all public comments received from the Development and Zoning Department between January 23rd and February 24th. And we'll start with Mr. Benson on behalf of the Genoa Township Development and Zoning Department, and he will give us an overview of Exhibit D, which is the staff report.
Thank you, Mark. This lot has a little bit of a longer history. The original house that was built on this lot was built in 1901. A relatively large accessory building was added to the lot in 1977. Both of those were constructed prior to what we call basically the zoning that we use now, which was basically started in 1987 in Genoa Township. The lot itself that is currently there was made in 2013. The lot is zoned rural residential, even though it is less than the 2 acres in size. When the lot was created, it did go through the variance process. Mr. Harmon may remember, he was an alternate on the board when it went through.
I do. I
Back
believe Ms.
in-
Yu was also on the board.
Back in 2003. She was not on the board yet in 2003. No.
Okay.
Nope. You were here for the next one, which was, so the original house was built in 1901. There was an addition that was put on
Okay, oh, that one.
prior to when the lot was created in 2003. Then the lot was created in 2013 after Sheffield Park had gone in. There was a larger lot that got split into 3 different lots, and they all received
right.
variances for being less than 2 acres. After that, the current applicant bought the house in 2014, and in 2016, they wanted to add to the original house in the 900 square foot addition with a larger addition to the rear. And so that also had to get a variance because that exceeded the maximum building coverage of 10%. That variance was approved, and so they did add that addition, which exceeded the lot coverage, or the building coverage for the lot. Last month, I received a phone call from somebody from Moore Brothers Landscaping that the applicants wanted to add a pool onto their property. While I was on the phone, I pulled up an aerial picture of the property, and just by looking at it aerially, with the aerial photo, I thought to myself, this may have some lot coverage issues, just knowing what the size of the lot was and looking to see what was there. So I provided the numbers to the representative from Moore Brothers Landscaping, and he said, okay, I will let you know what I come up with a plan. He did submit an application for the pool, and on the application, it listed that the total impervious surface coverage, which was below, when the building coverage was done with the variance to exceed the building coverage, the impervious surface coverage was still below the 25% maximum. Once the pool was added and the pool decking was added, the numbers that he had provided said that it was over the impervious surface maximum of 25%. On January 23rd, 2026, I sent an email to the applicant and Moore Brothers Landscaping, letting them know that as is, it would require a variance to be able to include this much impervious surface on the property. That same afternoon, Mr. Lundak came in to drop off the application to vary from the maximum impervious surface coverage. Section 606.10 is the section in the zoning resolution that talks about lot coverage. So it's 10% building coverage, which they exceed, and the 25% impervious surface coverage. For anyone that is not familiar with what the impervious surface is, the way that I usually describe it when people look at me and questionably is it's anything that's not going to be dirt or grass on your property is going to be impervious surface. So driveways, sidewalks, decks, patios, and pools are all going to be impervious surface. Basically, anything that slows down the absorption of water of rainwater is going to be counted as impervious surface. The application, when it was submitted, stated that if they were not zoned rural residential, if they were zoned suburban residential, they would not require a variance. That is true. The suburban residential requirements for lot coverage are 20% for buildings and 35% for impervious surface. And if you're not aware, suburban residential properties are anything that's 30,000 square feet or more. We don't really have a zoning district that's in between the 30,000 square feet and the 2 acres that the minimum is for the rural residential. I did calculate the impervious surface of the pool and the surrounding decking that is proposed to be added. That was 1,529 square feet. I added that to the impervious surface that was listed on the application when the latest addition to the house was approved, And that gave me a total impervious surface coverage of 7,329 square feet. And when I added that with the amount of building coverage that was on there, my calculation came up to 28.4% of coverage. The application states that they are asking for another extra 9% of coverage, which would put them at 34% of impervious surface coverage. We did send copies of the application to police, fire, and maintenance. Fire Marshal Cato did respond. He had no concerns. And we have not heard anything from anybody as far as inquiries into the application. And the application did include letters from the neighbors stating that they were aware of the application and did not have any concerns. And we'll give it back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for staff? Anyone?
You had indicated that the number would go up to 30-something%?
My calculation had it at 28.4%.
Yeah, I had it at 28.4 also.
Yeah, but the applicant is requesting 34%, so you could.
All right, so the right number is 28.4.
Well, he could speak on why he's asking for more. It's
I was
possible,
gonna say, we
it's
can-
possible
we'll-
maybe he has more ideas in place that he
Oh,
wants to
okay.
add, so.
Clarify in a second here, I think. That might clear that up for you. Anyone else? Teresa? No? 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 Okay, let's hear from the applicant. If you'd introduce yourself, sir?
My name's Chris Londak. First and foremost, thank you for your time. My wife is sick. She wanted to be here. Just wanted to make note of that. That being said, I think the main question, the 28.4, the 34%, we went for a variance in 2016. I utilized a lot of that gentleman playing for lands variance in part of doing this new one. And in doing that, I was out there with a measuring wheel trying to calculate all this impervious surface. So I'm more than certain that that discrepancy is more a miscalculation on my part. Needless to say, I also, please.
Let me make sure I understand then. If we approve 28.6?
28.4 is.
4.
28.4 is what I
If we say
had.
okay to 28.4, that's sufficient.
I
For what you're
believe, I
doing.
believe that to be, based on, everything in which we've provided. In calculating the actual, the square footage of the pool and the pool decking around it, yes,
Right.
I would agree with that. Some of the weird things, trying to calculate that the gravel portion of the driveway, and then our large driveway. And then also, I did get a little confused. Looking at a previous plot map, it shows if you pull off the side of my home 35 feet, that's my property line. If you go to that 35-foot mark, that is the center of the road. So that got a little weird and hairy there.
Boy,
So
we've never heard that before.
if I calculated a portion of the road as part of that, so, so forgive me, I could be off on the number. I would trust the 28.4. Essentially, all we're asking for is that square footage of the pool, which is 16 by 40, and then
The
that
pool's
decking.
16 by 40?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then the decking around
And the
it.
decking that is around it?
That-
No, like
correct.
large patio or anything?
Well, there will be, a 10-foot patio down the one side, and then a 10-foot patio on the other, and then
10 by,
So I want to say 10 by 53, because it'll be 3 on the one edge of the pool, and then 10 on 2 sides.
is that what you had? Is that what you
Yeah,
were
yeah,
working
the drawings on the
with?
screen, the way the application read, so if you look at the pool drawing that's up there, the decking that's gonna be closer to the house was 10 feet. The decking to the south is also 10 feet, and then the decking to the north and the west were 3 feet off of the pool.
Oh, just 3?
Yes.
Okay. All right, because here's the reason I question it, is I don't want to approve, I don't want us to say, okay to 28.4, not that we are or aren't, and then you actually need 34.
I understand.
So I just don't want to, I don't.
I'm sure you, if you say yes, I'm not going to add a basketball court in as well.
You could also always add in a contingency, put it at 29% or whatever.
Yeah, well,
whatever-
and that's what I'm wondering, if,
Yeah,
or 30,
whatever you feel
29,
comfortable
30,
with.
I don't know. Okay, math wasn't my strong subject in school. Okay, Anybody else? Anything? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think that was essentially it.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless there's any questions or anything I can
Any
help.
other questions for the applicant?
No.
No? 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 You guys are quiet tonight. Let's get one little piece of business out of the way. Is there anybody in the hall here that would like to speak regarding this application that's been sworn in? Okay, hearing none. Okay, then we'll move along.
I have read in the packet
Please.
that there are people who submitted forms indicating they have no problems with these changes.
Right, yeah, I think,
Yeah.
and I think he mentions that in his
Yeah,
application.
yeah.
Which this, as I recall, and Paul, you can correct me, I know you will. I recall this is somewhat unique. I'm a little, I'm a little amused in that they've split the property into threes and now they want relief from the impervious surface because it's now smaller. But otherwise, I personally don't think this is, that's a unique area down there too. It's right next to Sheffield Park, which is a typical, subdivision in the township. And this, it's like this little, it's kind of up on the hill and it's kind of back by itself and everything predates what was around there. That street predates. And as I recall, we've had a couple of cases on Jaycox Road over the years too. So, and I remember this being somewhat unique. Were you the homeowner when they wanted a variance for to construct the main structure, or no?
We asked for the variance in 2016, 2017, to put on the addition,
Okay.
essentially from the garage. We never had a garage before.
Right.
So we did a garage and then we actually built like an in-law suite first floor and then kind of.
I remember, yeah, and as I recall, the original structure that you left remaining was A, old, and B, in pretty
Correct.
bad shape, as I recall.
Correct.
So, but as I recall, you intended to keep it, which it looks like you did. So, okay. I don't really have anything else.
Would you like to move to findings of fact, sir?
Have at it.
All right. I told you, I came ready to work.
You came to work, you just have right at it.
Okay, so for everybody who's here who doesn't know what the findings of fact are, essentially we were guided by the Supreme Court of the state of Ohio around the outcome of a case called Duncan v. Middlefield, which guides organizations and places like Genoa Township in making these types of often difficult decisions. And there are a number of criteria that we use as a foundation for doing so. The first is whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return, or whether there can be a beneficial use of the property without the variance. And in this case, the answer is yes. The property currently yields a reasonable return and has beneficial use without the variance. The existing residence, accessory building, and improvements provide substantial beneficial use of the property. However, the lot's non-conforming size, 1.193 versus the 2-acre minimum, creates a condition where the standard residential amenities such as an in-ground pool cannot be accommodated within the 25% impervious surface limit. The hardship is not self-created, but stems from the pre-existing non-conforming lot size established by prior variance, which in some cases could be as a result of prior variances that were requested. The next question of Duncan v. Middlefield is whether the variance is substantial. The answer to that is no. The variance is not substantial. The deviation is approximately 3.4 percentage points above the 25% maximum, as we've been discussing here. Staff calculated that the pool and the decking addition at 1,529 feet. The overage is modest and directly attributable to the property's non-conforming size on a conforming 2-acre lot. The same improvements would fall well within permitted coverage limits. The next Duncan v. Middlefield criteria is whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered or whether the adjoining properties would suffer substantial detriment. The answer to that is no. The character of the neighborhood would not be altered. The adjoining property to the north, south, and west is Sheffield Park's 23.5 acres of open space. Neighboring property owners were notified by mail, and not only were there no objections, there were a number of letters in support indicating support for the initiative. No written inquiries or objections were received by staff prior to the hearing other than what we described as letters of support. The next Duncan v. Middlefield criteria is whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of government services. The answer to that is no. Fire Marshal Cato reviewed the application and responded with no concerns. Police and maintenance departments were also notified and raised no issues. The next Duncan v. Middlefield criteria is whether the property owner purchased a property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. The answer to that is yes. The applicants purchased the property in 2014 after the non-conforming lot size variance was approved, I think in 2012. They were aware of the zoning district requirements. However, the specific impact on impervious surfaces coverage as it relates to a future pool installation was not a condition disclosed at the time of purchase. The prior 2016 variance, 2016-02 for building lot coverage indicates that the applicants have engaged in good faith compliance with zoning requirements in the past. One of the last two remaining Duncan v. Middlefield criteria are whether the property owner's predicament can be feasibly obviated through some method other than a variance, and the answer to that is no. This situation cannot be obviated other than by us issuing a variance. The lot's non-conforming size is fixed. Reducing the pool or deck dimensions to achieve compliance within 25% would result in a minimal or non-functional improvement. No other method is available to bring a standard residential amenity into compliance given the constrained lot size. And G, finally, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice would be done by granting the variance. It is in the opinion of this board member that the answer to that is yes. The spirit and intent of the zoning resolution would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. The 25% impervious surface limitation is intended to manage stormwater runoff and preserve the character of rural residential lots. This property is surrounded by Sheffield Park, open space, which substantially mitigates any runoff or environmental concern. Denying the variance would impose a disproportionate hardship on the applicants relative to the minimal impact on the requested deviation. And those are the facts as found. Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I have a couple of comments, and then we can go into further discussion or entertain a motion, whatever the board wishes to do. First of all, I compliment you on your presentation. I thought it was very important that you gave us this that shows how it was originally plotted in 1901 when the property was built, and how things have changed, although it's, I'm sure, predates any zoning in the township whatsoever. I thought that was important.
Can I add?
Sure.
Hearing Mr. Benson, give the dissertation of the property and the history was like, hearing a children's story.
Oh, yeah, I'm
Some
sure.
kid on an
I
adventure.
have worked in the township for years and independently as an appraiser, and I've done several properties, one that's in very close proximity, and you always get the history when you go in properties like this. So I've lived here for a long time. I absolutely appreciate it. The pool, just by way of reference, because I've seen a few over the years, is a typical size for an in-ground pool. It's not, actually it's a little smaller than most of the ones I used to see. Most of them are around 20 by 40, but I'm not encouraging you. And I think that the location I think it makes sense because it really is truly at the back of the structure. It's not to the side, it's not, even though because of the way that it faces east, that it really, I mean, it only makes sense, which kind of ties into my other comment is that many times we ask the applicant about, can you put it here? Can you put it there? Can you move it over there? And I think in your case, it gives you the most utility if it's at essentially the back of the house. So I wouldn't, is there anything that, oh, you're on septic and well probably.
No.
No, are you on sewer
We were
now?
converted sewer.
Oh,
sewer,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because moving it back, like in this area, doesn't make sense. Are there utilities there or?
There is, back there, no. There are some clay tiles that we've discovered
Okay,
back there, but aside from that, the back side of the property, there is where the natural gas runs through. And they just did that water line going down through that green space.
okay,
And then looking at the map in between the house and the outbuilding is where the sewage ties in.
okay. I think, did we have the discussion about the tiles when you were here before? I kind of think we might have.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember much about
I
it.
don't either. Okay, but those are the only comments that I had. So if anybody else wants to jump in, question for
I also
the
want to
applicant.
compliment you on the quality of your package.
So if somebody wants to make a motion or ask you want to
I'm
make a
prepared.
motion then, Mark? Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I propose a motion to approve this submission. How many exhibits do we have?
A through E, I
E through
think.
E.
3, okay. I move to incorporate exhibits A through E as well as the board's findings pertaining to the review of section 307.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution into evidence and to approve the requested area variance from section 606.10 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution for BZA 2026-5 application received January 23rd, 2026. This is to allow impervious surface lot coverage to exceed the maximum 25% by approximately 3.4%, resulting in approximately 28.4 total impervious surface coverage, or 7,329 square feet, for the construction of an in-ground pool and surrounding decking on property known at 6155 J. Cox Road, Galena, Ohio, 43021. Parcel ID 317-220-0104-42000, zoned rural residential. This is subsequent, as a result of the following findings of fact. The variance will not be contrary to the public interest because the property is surrounded by Sheffield Park open spaces on 3 sides, substantially mitigating any stormwater or environmental impact from the modest exceedance of the impervious surface limit. No objections were received from neighboring property owners or governmental departments. Special conditions result in an unnecessary hardship because the lot is a pre-existing non-conforming parcel of 1.193 acres, less than the 2-acre minimum required in the rural residential district. This nonconformity, established by prior variance and not created by the current applicants, makes it impossible to accommodate a standard residential amenity such as an in-ground pool with a 25% impervious surface limit. And then finally, approval is consistent with the spirit of the zoning resolution because the requested deviation is modest, 3.4 percentage points, directly attributable to the nonconforming size rather than overbuilding, and the property's unique adjacency to 23.5 acres of Sheffield Park open space ensures that the intent of the impervious surface regulation, managing runoff and preserving rural character, is effectively achieved. With the following conditions, all required permits, zoning or otherwise, shall be obtained prior to commencement of the construction. The approved variance shall lapse and expire if the permits are not obtained within 1 year of the date of approval. Extensions may be requested pursuant to section 307-11A and B of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. I so move.
Okay. I'm sorry. what maximum percentage did you have in your motion?
Yeah, it was,
Are you? did you-
maximum was to
28
28.4%,
28.4?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to stick with that?
or 7,329 square feet.
I'm just asking.
Permission, and I only say this knowing how I.
Sure.
Being not the best student in math, can we make a round
Oh,
number
I'm
there?
right there with you.
Maybe 29% or?
Do you want to amend your motion then, Mark, or no?
I shall amend my motion to 29% of
Okay.
total impervious surface coverage, or whatever square feet that calculates at, because I'm not good at math, just like you.
Well, and which leads me to question two. How many square feet over the 25% are we approving? Because, another math question.
Right, yeah,
Don't you hate
I
that?
did the math, I don't.
I was a
think if I
political
wrote it down.
science major, so I
I
couldn't.
did save the application from, that was provided from my Moore Brothers. The lot size itself is 51,967 square feet. They do have 6,663 square feet of building coverage. That's 12.82%. That was approved by the variance in 2016.
Mhm.
And then the impervious surface coverage is going to be 7330, 25% of 51,967. Use my phone to calculate that. So they're allowed 12,991.75. The 28.4 gives them 13,993. So about 1,002 extra square feet.
Oh, okay, that's what I wanted
That's,
to know.
that's at the 28.4, that's not at the 29%.
Right, which is kind of, yeah.
I shall move to those numbers.
29% is 15,070 square feet.
I'm going to second your motion, Mark. And any further discussion? No? Then we will call a vote. Mr. Campanella?
Aye.
Ms. Guest? Mr. Wilcoxen? Ms. Yu?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion carries. So that ends this hearing at 7:33, and we will open hearing 2 at 7:33, and I will read the legal notice into the record. Christopher and Kristen Ludnick are requesting approval of a variance to allow a pool to encroach into the front setback at 6155 Jaycox Road, Galena, Ohio, 43021, which is currently zoned rural residential, BZA case 2026-06. Those that wish to appear and testify in this matter, if there's no one else, then just consider yourself still sworn in. The following will be marked as, I'm sorry. The legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on February 11th, 2026 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on February 4th, 2026. An attempt to mail notice of the hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was also made. The following will be marked as Exhibits A through E, which is the legal notice, the sign-in sheet, the application, the staff report dated February 18th, 2026. All public comments received by the Development and Zoning Department between January 23rd, 2026 and February 24th, 2026. Oh, and let's hear from staff.
Thank you, Mark. As the history of the property hasn't changed in the last 15 minutes, I'm going to skip that portion. We'll go
That's
ahead.
It
comforting.
didn't
Yes.
have a variance approved.
That is true. We'll go ahead and skip to the section number on the application that they were seeking relief, stated 170902. 170902 is the regulations for public pools. Private pools are regulated by 1709. So the front setback section for that is 170901B. So you can ask the applicant if they're okay with changing the section number. There was a typo also in my memo. I had to change that. It did originally say 02B, but it's now 01B.
Sure.
So
Are
you
you-
okay with changing the section
Yes,
number
sir.
to
I'm fine
170901B?
with all of it.
All righty. They also did not request a specific distance from the right-of-way line. However, the application that we received from Moore Brothers Landscaping showed that the edge of the water, which is where we measure the pools for the setbacks, was 57 feet from the front right-of-way line. One thing to note is that the principal building on the property is legal, existing, non-conforming at 37 feet. So even though they're within the front setback at 57 feet, they're still 20 feet further away from the road than what the house is.
And
Or
we
the
approved- we
original
approved
1901
that,
house.
I would,
So.
yeah, that's actually the original
Correct,
structure.
correct.
So it was there.
Originally non-conforming.
Yes,
Okay.
correct. And then other than that, again, Fire Marshal Cato responded with no concerns, and we have not received any inquiries into this variance request either.
Okay. So basically, well, here, Mr. Ludnick, if you want to.
Thank you again for your time. Yes, so as we previously discussed in the previous variance, the location of the pool, we found that to be the ideal use case for just our family from one safety perspective to, it's the most usable location. We thought of moving it further back on the lot and/or kind of behind the outbuilding. And in doing so, we don't have plain view of it. And that would kind of be concerning with my daughter, her friends, and, you know, just any safety-related issue. So the current location in which it is right there is the optimal for us. But it encroaches on that front setback. And that front setback, as I previously said in the previous variance, in measuring from that plot that I saw to the center of the road where it says my property line is, which just seems weird. And then learning that I'm not sure how Genoa Township does it, if it's with the rule of 30 feet from the center of the road, so that easement area. I'm not sure where to start that measurement number from. So-
Staff?
Measure from the right-of-way line, not to the road.
Okay.
So it's right-of-way is a little bit different for every single road, but it's generally going to be about 30 feet from center. So
Okay.
that is about the places to measure from.
So from that point, I'm not 100% what that specific number in which we're looking for.
Yeah, I believe Moore Brothers Landscaping did the measurement from the right-of-way line when I looked at the application that they submitted, and they had it at 57 feet to edge of water.
57 feet from the right-of-way?
Correct.
Okay. And it needs to be,
It's supposed to be 75 because
75.
because it's zone rural residential, even
So
though
it's
it's
18
a
feet
non-conforming
and-
lot size, so.
okay. All right. Questions? Anyone? Okay. Any member of the public that wishes to speak regarding this application? Seeing none, then we will move on to, sounds like, the Duncan versus Middlefield analysis.
I have one question.
Go.
What's the setback on a suburban?
Suburban residential front setback is 50 feet.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
So from a substantiality point of view, what's the delta that we're asking for in this
They're-
case?
They're requesting 18 feet into
18 feet.
75.
Asking for 18 feet of the 75?
Yeah, to be
On a
57.
percentage basis?
Oh, what's that? Here. 24.
Does that meet our threshold for substantial?
Well, the criteria is 25 For me, it's close enough for government work, sorry. But
So it is
I would
substantial?
call it substantial, yeah. But it's substantial from the standpoint, it's how you calculate it too.
Mhm.
And it conforms with the existing, the original existing structure. Because that front piece of the structure is what was built in 1901. The
Mhm.
rest is all post-1901. So
So
2000.
25%, and we'd say it is substantial.
25 is substantial.
Okay.
So,
I'm prepared for findings of fact, Mr. Chairman, if you like.
sure.
Okay, I'm not going to go through all the details of what Duncan v. Middlefield is, since we've already done it once for the audience. Findings of fact, the board reviews section 307.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution reflecting Duncan v. Middlefield as it pertains to the area variance requested from section 1709.02B. The first question is whether the property would yield a reasonable return. The answer, similarly to the last one, is yes. The property currently yields a reasonable return and has beneficial use without the variance. The existing residence, accessory building, and site improvements provide substantial beneficial use. However, the non-conforming position of the principal building, 37 feet from the right-of-way, and the orientation of the home with no front entry door on the street-facing facade create a practical condition where a strict application of the front yard pool prohibition would prevent any reasonable pool placement that is centered within the rear of the home and visible for safety monitoring. The second criteria is whether the variance is substantial. Based on the discussion here, we would say the answer is yes. The proposed pool is located 57 feet, however, from the right-of-way, well beyond the principal building's non-conforming 37-foot setback. The encroachment into the defined front yard is a product of the home's existing non-conforming placement rather than an aggressive or unreasonable positioning of the pool. The pool's location is driven by functional and safety considerations, not a desire to maximize lot usage. The next is whether the essential character would be substantially altered. The answer to that is no. Essential character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered, and adjoining properties would not suffer a substantial detriment. We have signatures, again, from neighbors on that account as well. The property is bounded on multiple sides by now famous Sheffield Park's 23.5 acres of open space. All neighboring property owners were notified and submitted letters of support with no objections. No written inquiries or objections were received by zoning staff prior to the hearing. Whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of government services, similar to the last one, no. Fire Marshal Cadle reviewed the application and responded with no concerns similarly, and copies of the application were also provided to the police and maintenance departments with no objections raised. Next, whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. The answer, similarly to the last one, is yes. The applicants purchased the property in 2014 after the non-conforming lot size variance was approved in 2012 and with the existing non-conforming principal building in place at 37 feet from the right-of-way. While they were aware of the zoning district, the practical interaction between the home's non-conforming placement and the front yard pool prohibition could not have been fully anticipated at the time of purchase. The applicants have demonstrated good faith, again, by engaging with zoning staff and applying for the requested variance. Whether the property owner's predicament can be feasibly obviated through some other method other than a variance, obviously the answer is no. And then last but not least, whether the spirit and intent behind zoning requirements would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. And it's the opinion of this member that the answer is yes. The spirit and intent of the zoning resolution would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. Section 1709.02B is designed to ensure pools are placed safely and do not dominate street-facing yards or impact neighboring properties. The proposed pool at 57 feet from the right-of-way behind the existing non-conforming structure satisfies the safety and aesthetic purposes of the regulation. The unique orientation of the home, the non-conforming lot size, and the surrounding open space make this a case for a strict application of the front yard prohibition would yield an unjust result disproportionate to any public benefit. Those are the findings of facts of this member, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I do want to mention a couple things which may be redundant, but I think the location of the pool is merited because of, from a utility perspective, being able to see the pool from the residence as opposed to having it back by the accessory building or back behind off someplace, some other place. Which, you know, is a utility issue. And I think it's important to note too that it really doesn't impact any of the adjoining properties, which is Sheffield Park, the open space there. And I saw in the plan that it will be fenced and there'll be probably some kind of landscaping.
Some landscaping along
associated.
Jaycox, yes.
Sure, okay. I think that unless there's any other discussion, we're ready for a motion.
Prepared?
You did the homework, so.
I move to, how many exhibits do we have here? A through E again?
A through E,
Yeah.
yeah.
I move to approve and incorporate exhibits A through E, as well as the board's findings pertaining to the review of section 307.6 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution into evidence, and to approve the requested area variance from section 1709.02B of the Genoa Township zoning resolution for BZA 2026-06, application received January 23rd, 2026, to allow the construction of an in-ground swimming pool at location that encroaches upon the front yard with the pool edge located approximately 57 feet from the right-of-way line on property known as 6155 Jaycox Road, Galena, Ohio 43021. Parcel ID 317-2200-104-2000, zoned rural residential. Pursuant to the approval finding of facts, as such, that the variance will not be contrary to the public interest because the pool is located behind the existing non-conforming principal structure at 57 feet from the right-of-way, well beyond the home's 37-foot setback. The property is again surrounded by Sheffield Park, open space, and no objections were received from neighboring property owners or governmental departments. Special conditions result in an unnecessary hardship because the principal building is a legal, existing, non-conforming structure located 37 feet from the right-of-way, a condition predating the applicant's 2014 purchase of the property. This non-conforming placement, combined with the home's orientation, no street-facing entry door, creates a front yard condition that makes compliant pool placement impractical for safety, supervision, and functional use of the rear yard. Approval is consistent with the spirit of the zoning regulation because the intent of section 1709-02B, ensuring safe pool placement away from the lot lines and street-facing yards, is satisfied by the proposed 57-foot setback from the right-of-way. The encroachment into the defined front yard results from the non-conforming position of the home, not from, again, an unreasonable siting of the pool, and the surrounding Sheffield Park open space ensures no impact to neighboring properties. Conditions of approval, again, all permits, zoning or otherwise, shall be obtained prior to commencement of the construction. 2, the approved variance shall lapse and expire if the permits are not obtained within 1 year of the date of approval. 3, extensions may be requested pursuant to section 307.11 A and B of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. Do we need to grant authority to the inspector to extend at their discretion?
That's up to you.
Yes, we grant that in case there's some minor changes needed. And that is the motion.
You did list in there 1709-02B. The correct section is 1709-01B.
So it should be 01B?
Yes, correct.
I amend to 1709-01B and blame it on transposition.
Fine.
Okay, I'll second. Discussion? Anybody? Comments? Then I will call the roll. Mr. Campanella?
Aye.
Ms. Guest?
Aye.
Mr. Wilcoxon?
Yes.
Ms. Yu?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Motion carries. Enjoy your pool.
Congratulations.
Enjoy
Enjoy.
your pool, what, next summer?
think the dig date's the 26th of March.
Wow.
So we pushed it close, so thank
Wow.
you.
Good luck.
We'll expect an invitation.
Absolutely.
I'll bring the pork chops.
I like your style.
The hearing's concluded at 7:50. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Okay, so. Give me 1 second here. Okay. It is 7:50 PM, and I am going to call the next hearing to order and read the legal notice into the record. Lindsay and Patrick Kelly requesting approval of a variance to allow for an addition to encroach into the left side setback at 5626 Sedgwick Lane, Galena, Ohio 43021, currently zoned Planned Residential District, PRD. This is BZA case 2026-07. If you are here and you wish to testify in this matter, please stand and raise your right hand. Okay, nobody else is gonna, no public comment, no. We don't charge extra, by the way. So, there you go. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Be seated. The legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on February 11th, 2026 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on February 4th, 2026. An attempt to mail notice of this hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was also made. The following are marked as exhibits A through E, which include the legal notice, sign-in sheet, application, staff report dated February 18th, 2026. All public comment received by the Development and Zoning Department between January 27th, 2026 and February 24th, 2026, and I know we have at least one. And we will start with Mr. Benson on behalf of the township.
Thank you, Mark. So a little history of the property. The Gladed Highland Lakes was platted in February of 2017. This residence, or the house, was permitted in February of 2017 also. A permit was also approved for a fence in April of 2018. And then in January, Taylor Summer from His and Hers Architect contacted staff for information regarding the side setback for this property. Staff provided the development plan for the Gladed Highland Lakes to show that it does have a 7-foot side setback and also a 20-foot minimum separation between structures. After she received that, she replied back and asked about any information on the neighboring property. So I sent her a plot plan for the neighboring property to show that it does have a
20-foot
20-foot separation between structures.
Right.
But it's a
and
7-foot setback
7
on
foot,
each
okay.
side of the property. Let's get that part. The request states that they are encroaching into a third of the side setback. The actual site plan that was provided with the application shows that they will be 3 feet 9 inches from the side lot line. So that's what what they requested on their application instead, about a third, but then the site plan that was provided says 3 feet 9 inches.
Right, so it's actually more than a
A
third,
little more, yeah, about a half, so.
correct?
We did get a phone call prior to the variance application being submitted, just asking general questions about outdoor fireplaces. So I did want to, I added in my staff's comments that there is an outdoor fireplace that is included in the plan that was provided with the application. I just wanted to make it clear that if they had a standalone outdoor fireplace that was not underneath a roof structure, that could be up to 7 feet from the property line, as long as it doesn't exceed 12 feet in height. So it's possible that that standalone fireplace could be in a compliant location, depending on where it is located in the addition that is being proposed. The application also stated that there were similar properties in the subdivision that had similar improvements on them. Two of the properties that were listed, staff did not have any permits for any patios that had similar improvements. One of them did. That was 5636 Holliston Court. We found two permits for that, one for an enclosed porch that had a patio underneath, and also a patio with seating walls and a fire pit. All of those are located directly behind the house. They do not extend past the side of the house on that property. Copies of the application were provided to police, fire, and maintenance. Fire Marshal Cato responded that he had no concerns. And then, as you know, we did get an email today from the neighbor where he listed some issues that he has with the application. I did provide a copy of that to the applicant, so they also have seen that today. And then I have printed copies for all of you, and we also emailed to you this afternoon.
Did you guys all see that? Okay.
We did have another earlier phone call from the same neighbor. He had mentioned during that he was also on the HOA, and he listed some questions that the HOA had, but those were more just general questions about whether or not there were any other variances in the neighborhood, and just some other general questions about zoning regulations. That is all I have for you, unless you have some questions for me.
I do.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going out 4 feet within the 7 feet.
They're going 3 feet, 3 inches into the 7-foot
Correct,
side setback.
remaining. Okay,
They have 3 feet, 9 inches remaining. They're requesting to encroach 3 feet, 3 inches. So they would be 3 feet, 9 inches from the side lot line.
but they remain 20 feet from the adjoining.
According to the drawing, they are still over 20 feet from the side lot line.
You know,
From
the beauty of sitting here
building, so,
is I
yes.
cannot see
Yeah,
that.
you have that on your paper and also on your tablet. You can look at it on there, so.
I like it
It's
up
there.
here.
Yep.
And I complain about this every month, just for the record. Okay. And, all right.
Did the other house that you mentioned, it did not require variance?
No, no, all the improvements for the one that we have permits for were located directly to the rear of the house, nothing extended past the side of the house.
Right, they just have to
Yeah.
get a permit for the patio. or
Correct, yep,
whatever.
yeah, it was all,
That's
it was compliant.
They didn't require variance.
Yeah.
And the other two, you were unable to find?
We don't have permits for, it's possible they built stuff without getting permits,
No,
but we don't have any permits on record for those two properties.
I've never heard of that happening here. Okay. All right, I have a few things, but we're gonna come back, because I'd like to hear from the applicant. Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Kelly, and
I'm Patrick Kelly.
so we're the homeowners, and we have our architect Taylor with us, and our engineer
Al Robinson.
Alan. Sorry,
Architect.
Summer. So I was gonna
I
let
saw your train out in front.
I want to say first, thank you so much for your time and consideration, and we do know that we're asking for something that you have to grant, and you don't have to, but it's, thank you for giving us the chance to plead our case. I was gonna let Taylor talk for us first, because she can explain her drawings and the numbers probably better than I can.
So we looked at multiple options on where to put this. Ultimately, we decided the west side of the house is where that kitchen is and where the dining room is. And there is 2 windows there, and we would like to switch one of those windows to a door and go out that way and have an outdoor seating area. The examples we provided were not to say that other people have requested variances, but to say that an outdoor dining area, covered dining area, is not uncommon to the neighborhood. So we would like a outdoor covered dining area, and we picked proximity to the kitchen, which would just make the most sense for the homeowner to be delivering food from the kitchen out to this patio. Now, the height of it requires 3 steps down, and the structure that we are using is proposed as stone. So because of the slope of the lot, there is a decent enough drop-off that the 3 steps down is kind of a compromise between the drop-off at the end of the patio and the drop-off from the house. And then there will be a partial wall for safety at the edge of the patio. So this stone wall is 12 inches thick, and then the steps out of the house, we will need a landing, so that's 3 feet there, and then the additional step. So you have 4 feet of steps, and then the foot of wall, and then that leaves just enough space for a dining table and space to walk around it. Because of the way that it angles, we looked at trying to push it back, but we would have to push it so far back that it would be past the setback in the rear. I guess it's irrelevant. We don't want to push it forward, but there are utilities there that we can't, push it more towards the front of the house. So ultimately, we've decided that we thought this was the best compromise between all of the factors that we had to take into play. Ideally, we would have the entire width along the structure so that we can actually utilize, if we were to angle the structure with the setback, it would really create a pinch point of unusable space there at the front. And then also, in my opinion, would just make it not look as nice if it, had an odd angle to it. So taking all of that into consideration, we feel that the small amount of square footage that we are asking to go past the setback out is outweighed by the look of the design remaining square.
Not just the design for us, but the curb appeal as well. I think it would look nicer if we could have a nice, shape that is parallel with the house, and it just looks like it makes sense from the street.
Okay. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
Is this an accurate representation
Yes.
of what your house looks like now?
Yes.
Okay, and it's going to go on the left side as it sits, correct? One of the concerns that we've heard about has to do with drainage and movement of water. What is your plan to allay any concerns that might exist with regards to drainage and movement of water?
The way it's going to be set up, we're going to have a downspout gutter system on probably on both sides, but on the west side for sure. We would tie that into the conductors, take it to the street.
So the water that is currently coming down now on the ground will hit the roof and go into the gutters and then now be
correct.
deposited into the street?
Correct.
And as far as the volume that you're expecting, do you think that the pipes there can handle that without any overflow?
Well, yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know the size of the storm sewer pipe that's out there, okay? But I do know that when they do subdivision design and approval by the Delaware County Planning, you have to account for a certain amount of volume coming off. And the control storm, I think, is 1 year. So, I don't see where we're going to exceed that because we're taking off half the roof into the west side. The other half will go to the other side of the house, so I don't see that as a problem.
Oh, so you're splitting the
Well,
flow?
yeah, we have to,
Yeah,
gable
Okay.
roof.
and part of the reason, not only does it make sense to ask the question because of concerns, but also because you're dealing with a pretty high-pitched roof, and you're going to get some velocity off of that
You can get
as
some
well.
Yes, you can. So you do 5-inch gutters, 5-inch
Yeah.
downspouts, yeah.
I have a very pitched roof on my house too, so
Oh, yeah,
I-
so do I.
I see it. And my last question is, when you were building this, you realized that the best placement and flow for using the new space was to put it where you put it.
Right.
If you don't get a variance today, what is your plan?
So we don't have a plan yet, but some discussions we're having is always keeping it on that side yard. So for sure, we're gonna build on that side yard. We're just gonna have to have either like an angled wall where we're following our property line as it gets wider in the back. Like Taylor was saying, it's a bit odd to have a wall, but the main goal was to maximize our yard space, which besides that small encroachment into the setback, like we do have a fair amount of yard space on that side of the house that we're currently not really able to use. There's no door out to that side, and there's nothing else over there. At the back of our house, like if we try to put it centered in the back, we have 2-story windows, so if we wanted a roof, I think maybe we could do an open patio there, for sure we could, but we couldn't do the roof, and that's one of the features we were hoping for. And then on the far other side, that is like it's not ground level, it steps down. I don't know what you call that, like a halfway down to the basement, it's like a sunken in room, so a split level, yeah, thanks. So we couldn't do it on that side, but yeah, obviously with an outdoor grill, you want to be off the kitchen ideally anyways, so.
The other thing that you mentioned before has to do with curb appeal, that if you don't commit to the structure, it could look like it's kind of weird if you don't commit to the amount of space that it takes to create an impression. So by staying within the lines, from a variance point of view, you might make it look like an afterthought as opposed to a committed structure, which would impact the curb appeal.
Right, and we're very careful and intentional with our design, and we never wanted to create, any neighborhood drama with this. Like, we're really been trying our hardest to communicate and reach out to people and make sure everybody's happy. We're doing the roof to match our existing roof. We're not doing like a pavilion with a tin roof, you know what I mean? So we're trying to make it look like it's part of the house, and exactly what you said is that it's not an afterthought. We want this to be really like an elegant space that looks great from the curb and it increases our home value. It looks great for the neighborhood. We take care of, our property, and we just want to make the most of the land that we do have in these tiny lots. I also wanted to say that a lot of the neighbors in our development are a lot closer together than we are, which is kind of the nice thing about our lot being like on a curve, because it does kind of separate our houses a bit more. But as far as keeping the neighborhood looking like, changing the vibe, I guess, of the neighborhood, I don't believe that we're doing that, because I think your drawings show that even with this variance, our closest point will still be 29 feet. So that's obviously still 9 feet more than what we need to be. And just kind of driving through our neighborhood, you can see the houses that are parallel are much, much closer than ours, even with this addition.
Have you approached the HOA?
I've tried to. So there was a Facebook post made about this variance application, and I replied to the Facebook post to say that I would love a conversation and I'm happy to talk to anybody and answer questions or concerns. And then I also privately messaged the 2 HOA members who aren't my neighbor, because we've also had many conversations with the neighbor, but I haven't been successful in getting a dialogue.
You have
going.
to go through a formal process to.
With the
get them to
HOA,
approve it.
right, and so it's also, they don't have anything in the bylaws specifically against any kind of variance application, and they don't have in the bylaws any additional like setback requirements. So as far as I know, I don't think that this goes against the existing bylaws. I mean, it doesn't, there's nothing in there for it.
Do they have to approve your design?
They have to approve the design.
I see. And have you already achieved that approval yet, or no?
We applied just under a month ago, and I assume they're waiting until this is over.
It doesn't have any, we operate separately,
It
but
becomes a game of chicken between us and the HOA. The reason I ask is only for informational purposes only. The fact that we approve or deny the application has nothing to do with what they do. They can approve or deny it as well. That's their thing, we do ours. Some of them say, well, if BZA approves it, then we'll let you do it. Some of them don't care what we do. So years we have, I don't think we've seen anybody from your subdivision, so, it's anybody's guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
we could just
except
kind
that
of,
our neighbor is the president of the HOA, so I guess we kind of know what his stance is on it.
Yeah, your one neighbor's not happy.
we tried to have a lot of conversations with him and, just, we tried to compromise. And from the beginning, they said that their main objection was us putting a fireplace there, so not an objection to the variance. And they've said that multiple times in text and conversation, that they don't necessarily object to the variance, but they object to us having a fireplace, which
And
we plan to
just
do.
So I understand, the fireplace is gonna be up here,
Yeah, the
Very
back corner,
yeah.
right in here?
right.
Yeah, okay.
So that's not in the
So-
variance, and that'll be there regardless, so if it's a matter of making the neighbor happy, that kind of doesn't change. And I also want to address, like, he says substantial nature of the reduction. He gives 43%, but it's misleading, it's not quite accurate. So at the point where we encroach the most, sure, but it immediately begins to taper off, and so the total reduction is more like, what did we say, 3?
It's about, 3%. It's 30 square feet of the, if you take the setback all the way along the property line, that's
Does it-
1,000 square feet, so it's
Does it
30.
need to be, what is it, 13 feet wide? Does it need to be 13 feet wide? Can it be 10?
That's worst case, when we have to redraw it, we'll do that, but it's not ideal just because, like Taylor is saying, we have steps going down. And so that comes into our space where we were hoping to put the grill and,
Grill, a
the,
fridge, and a sink along that stretch of 13 feet. It gets
between that and the retaining wall, because we have to build up a bit as well as adding the steps.
So the wall's 1 foot, and then the stairs are 4 feet, so that's 5 feet right there. And then you have a 3-foot table, and you need, 3 to 4 feet on either side of it to get around. That's how we come up with the 16 feet.
And then,
So he says that the requested reduction appears to be a result from a design preference rather than a hardship inherent to the property.
I would argue that it's not like an aesthetic design, it's more of a functional design. So, and it's another way for us to make like the most use of our yard, because the majority of that is not built on the setback, like it's only a very tiny amount that we're encroaching. So if we go that far out, then we're safe to go that far out for the rest of it, as opposed to having to add like a corner or, an extra pillars and stuff, which I don't think would look as nice
And
for
this-
this deal.
this right here, this is the neighbor's house right there. And this isn't like a driveway or anything,
No,
is it?
their
No.
driveway's
It's just open
off the map
between
on the other
two
side.
houses.
Right, it's just that, and they don't have any windows on that side of the house.
Yeah. Vision challenged here. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. Because when you look at it like this, okay. Yeah, it's, because, okay, I see it. I see the vision now.
It's not, I think it's
See
not
it.
just designed.
That would have been a good picture to put in, by the way,
Oh.
just for the record.
You are constrained by the rear setback with regards to
Right.
going in that direction. Plus, it doesn't make sense to put a feature for dining off the other side of your house
Right.
from a flow perspective. So you are kind of boxed into that area.
And it's,
Right.
since we're talking about it, as far as the fireplace is concerned, that fireplace is what it is. The neighbor doesn't like it, the neighbor does like it. That's a them problem, not really a you problem, because you're permitted to put it. The only real issue is the patio itself. It's not an issue with the fireplace, even though they don't happen to like the fireplace. Let me get a little piece of business out of the way here, and then we'll get back. Anybody that has been sworn in, that wishes to comment, may do so now. Ma'am, were you sworn in earlier? Oh, yes, you were. Come on up to the podium. Name and address, please.
I'm Laura Albert. I live at 5593 Holliston Court. Hi, I'm Sarah Coldiron. I live at 5465 Holliston Court. We're here as the board members of this neighborhood. So first, we just want to say thank you for your time. We are obviously property owners of this neighborhood as well.
Sure.
This is nothing but respect for our neighbors.
Yes.
We just want to collectively speak on behalf of the residents that have reached out to us. Yes, the board member is the next door neighbor to them, so he has recused himself from everything in regards to this application. So we just want to say that as a board and all that we have heard from this, the only true concern that we really have is that variance line, the setback line, just because of how close our homes are to one another. We have seen other like surfaces like this being built on our neighborhood. You are correct, some have not submitted an actual form for approval with us. That happens, of course. But just because of how much information has been provided to us in regards to this, we have received your messages. We just wanted to keep it very formal through Alicia, our board representative, I guess you could say, through the property management. But that's the only concern that we truly do have as an HOA is just the setback line being crossed over.
Yes.
Okay. That's what we do here, just so you know.
Yes.
That's why we're
We just,
here.
yeah, that's
If
why we're
you-
here. We're just,
If people didn't need variances for that, then this board wouldn't
Exactly.
exist,
Right.
just so you know.
yeah.
Right.
But, you know, you've been here the whole time. There's a fairly, what I would call, and I've been on the board a long time, there's a fairly significant vetting process because I live in a subdivision just like you do. And we don't want to allow something that hasn't been vetted and doesn't make sense and won't conform to your neighborhood. That's not what we do here. I was talking here, now you get to listen to me. I was talking to a gentleman the other day that he's on the zoning board of appeals in his township, and it's more rural. And he says they get a lot of cases where they're putting double wides together, and they need a variance for that. So thankfully, that's not what we have to
Right.
deal with here. And the other thing is too, is I appreciate your concern. And I appreciate you coming down, and I see you've got somebody that probably needs to hit the sack pretty soon. But
She's the most important one.
yeah, trust me, I get it. I want you to understand, we're not the architectural design committee either. But in their defense, and I'm not defending the application or, you know, but they do have an architect engaged. We don't get that a lot.
An engineer.
A lot of people that just come in and say, well, I'd like to stick a pool here, I want
Oh,
to do a
we've gotten those
patio or
applications also.
whatever. So, you know, at least your neighbor is trying to do the right thing. I guess that's my point, whether or
We are
not.
too for our neighborhood,
Yeah.
just as on the board. You just
Sure.
want to do it for everyone, not just one
It's-
person. That's
It's
it.
a nice neighborhood. I've worked in there, not in a long time, but I've worked in there. It's a very nice neighborhood. The houses are relatively new. They're
Yeah,
nice,
they're
they're
all new,
large. And they're in Genoa Township, so what could possibly be wrong?
Right.
Um,
True.
So I appreciate the fact, though, that you know, that you comment on that. And we do hear you. Now, whether or not you agree with us is one thing, but
Right.
I hear you.
Yeah.
And I'm only one of 5, as you see, but we do hear you.
Something
So,
very serious, though, is we expect shoes on the half of our witnesses.
Take them off, I know.
Please show some respect,
That's why I
man.
said, put your shoes on.
we have a 6-year-old at our house right now that wears socks all the time, 24/7 socks.
Keep your shoes.
So, anyway,
It's-
anything else? I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
that's our main,
Okay.
that's our main concern.
All right, well, thank you. Anybody else have any comments? Anything?
Just to mention, there is no discussion of the fireplace in this document.
Okay, then we're gonna close public comment. And I don't know, I don't really have any, I will say, for me, I was concerned about the proximity to the lot line. And I was concerned about the ability for governmental services. We have had it, when I hadn't been on the board very long, we did have house that was built too close to the house next door by the developer, and it required a variance because it was too close. And the fire department came in and said, well, we can't get our equipment back there if something happens, so we have to get to the backyard. And I was a little concerned that that was the case. That picture clarifies a lot of that for me. And so I think I've done enough. You guys, anything? Lisa? No? Okay, you guys? Anybody want to go through Duncan versus Middlefield? I can do it, but you'll regret it.
I'll do it, Mr. Chairman, unless
Oh,
you have
you're
another
gonna- you're
volunteer.
gonna- Okay, I'll tell you what, you do it, and then you're off the hook next month.
I don't mind doing it. I don't want to dominate, and I don't want to be wrong in this case.
I sat here probably for 5 years, and the board let me do it every time.
I'm happy to do it. Okay, again, this is Duncan v. Middlefield. I've already indicated twice why we do this. So the board reviewed section 307.06 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution reflecting Duncan v. Middlefield as it pertains to the area variance requested from section 909.01B at the Glade Highland Lakes Final Development Plan. The first question is whether the property in question will yield a reasonable return or whether there can be beneficial use of the property without the variance. The answer to that is yes. The property currently yields a reasonable return and has beneficial use without the variance. The single-family residence is fully functional. However, the applicant's desired addition, designated at 16 feet wide to provide a usable interior space of 11 feet, cannot be accommodated within the 7-foot setback given the construction of the 0.32 acre lot. Strict compliance would require a reduction in the addition's width that would render the space functionally and potentially aesthetically inadequate for its intended purpose. So we've discussed the concern about being committed to that or not. So the second question is whether it's substantial. I'm going to say that it is, since it's roughly 50%.
It is
Mr. Chairman?
substantial.
And at the corner of the addition would be located 3 feet 9 inches from the side lot line, representing an encroachment of approximately 3 feet 3 inches into the 7-foot setback. The applicant states that only 3% of the addition's total footprint falls within the setback area. Critically, however, the proposed addition remains more than 29 feet from any neighboring structure, as we've seen from the pictures in the drawings, well exceeding the 20-foot minimum side structure separation, which is the primary safety and livability purpose behind the setback requirements. Next, whether the essential character of the neighborhood would be substantially altered. This is a tough one for me because you are dealing with relatively close together homes. However, based on what I've seen from the design, it looks like the character of the neighborhood would not be substantially altered. And we are talking only 3% of the structure protruding into this area.
And let me add to that, because you testified that you're going to have a roof similar on the patio, similar to the main structure, and it's going to be back behind, behind the house, where it's not that visible, because the house sits back a ways off the street anyway, and it's going to be even farther back. So I would agree with your statement, though.
Picking up, the proposed addition maintains more than 29 feet of separation from any neighboring structure, far exceeding the 20-foot minimum. The neighboring property owners were identified by mail. The legal notice was published in the Delaware Gazette. As of the staff memo, we do have an inquiry and an objection, as well as a testimony here from the public. We've taken into consideration their concerns and have heard them. Next is whether the variance would adversely affect the delivery of government services. I think the answer to that is no. The variance would not adversely affect the delivery of government services. Fire Marshal Cato again reviewed the application and responded with no concerns. Copies of the application were also provided to the police and maintenance departments with no objections raised. Staff has noted that the outdoor fireplace component of the addition must comply with applicable freestanding structure standards, which is a 7-foot side setback and under 12 feet in height. The next criteria is whether the property owner purchased the property with knowledge of the zoning restriction. I know the response to this was no, but we have to assume that when people make a purchase like a home, that they do understand what they're buying. So we're going to say the answer to that is yes. They purchased the property in the subdivision, which was platted in February 2017 with a 7-foot minimum side yard setback and a 20-foot structure separation standards established in the final development plan. The applicants were aware of those restrictions. Whether they knew about it in context is another matter. However, the specific constraint that a 16-foot wide addition designed to yield a usable 11-foot interior space cannot be fully accommodated within the setback on this 0.32 acre lot was a practical condition that may not have been apparent at the time of purchase. Whether your predicament can feasibly be obviated through some other method other than a variance, I've struggled on this because if you want to do what you want to do from a balance and aesthetic point of view and from a usage flow point of view, the answer, would certainly be no. Plus, you're dealing with the rear setback constraints as well. So the predicament cannot be feasibly obviated through a method other than a variance. Reducing the addition's width to achieve full setback compliance would compromise the functional and aesthetic utility of the space. As the applicants have noted, the strict compliance yields only an 11-foot usable width from a 16-foot structure. Relocating, plus you got the stairs and that issue that you talked about. Relocating the addition to another portion of the lot may not be architecturally or practically feasible given the home's footprint, desired use flow, and the lot's dimensions, as we talked about, the rear setback. No other method would achieve the applicant's functional goals without a variance. And then the most challenging one, whether the spirit and intent behind the zoning requirement would be observed and substantial justice would be done by granting the variance. I'm going to speak for myself only and say yes, the spirit and intent of the requirements would be observed and substantial justice done by granting the variance. The side setback and structure separation standards at the Highland Lakes Final Development Plan are intended to preserve light, air, privacy, and safety between neighboring homes. The proposed addition satisfies the more critical of these objectives by maintaining more than 29 feet of separation from any neighboring structure, nearly 1.5 times the required 20-foot minimum.
Let me add to that real quick too, is that I think that when the subdivision plan was approved with 7 feet on either side, I think that was a little optimistic in that would be sufficient for somebody who wanted to build a patio or a deck or a pool or whatever. I find it a little bit atypical, but it's probably more now than, for example, when my house was built. So it doesn't surprise me that you're here, I guess, is my point.
Just to back up, the proposed addition satisfies the more critical of these objectives by maintaining more than 29 feet of separation from any neighboring structure, nearly 1.5 times the required 20-foot minimum. There is a substantial encroachment into the 7-foot zone, nearly half, but only 3% of the actual addition footprint into the 7-foot setback, in my finding of fact, does not compromise the intent of the regulation, and granting the variance would constitute substantial justice to the applicants. Mr. Chairman, that is the view of this member.
Okay. I jumped in while you were doing the analysis, so I really don't have anything else. Is any other comments, anyone?
I just have to say my only concern is that if their neighbor wanted to build an addition on that side, they've now taken up 3 feet.
Can I answer to that?
Sure. I don't mind, but we're at the board discussion. So.
Yeah, we are, and the cube was spinning quickly when you said that because, but there's still going to be a setback requirement to the neighbor as well, though. So.
It's not like they're taking their space. They're just taking some of that space and substantial justice
But
would
if,
be.
I guess if they want to build something that still fits a setback, but is now less than 20 feet away because of this extra 3 feet into their 7-foot setback.
Okay, now I'm totally lost. If they want to add on to that side of the structure, well, they're only going to be able to go so far anyway. So if the setback is 20, they can only go 20 without a variance anyway. And this is, here, I'll advocate for the applicant.
They both did it to the.
If you look at the side of the house,
They both did the same side.
What are you saying? I didn't hear that.
Just let's say if they both, let's say hypothetically didn't need a variance and both went to their 7s, you know, they would be 14, so
right.
20 foot's out without a variance, so I guess I'm not.
Well, and that's my point with the subdivision plan,
Right.
is they did not give anybody any room to do anything except at the back. And that's not their fault. It kind of is what it is, so. But I'm only one vote. So as I've said over the years, I'm only one vote. I don't, and I think for me, if you look at the picture that Mark had up of the front of the house, I don't think it's a big, for me, it's not a big issue. Now, for you guys, it may be different, but for me, it's not an issue. Because there's a significant amount. You can get fire equipment. You can get, if they decide to build a pool, there's enough room. You can put a tractor back there and dig the pool out.
Well, as of this
Yeah.
image,
Right.
they could build to the other side and there are no neighbors
Right,
there.
and it's the garage side that they're on anyway.
That would be the garage side.
They can get the third car garage that I've always wanted. Okay,
That would be the more likely thing, was they'd want to put another garage on.
Yeah.
That would be the more likely
yeah,
scenario.
welcome to my world. Okay.
And we would
I'd have-
approve that.
I'd like to have a third car garage. Unfortunately, I'd have to get a variance, so I don't think my chances are good. Anyway,
Is that a retention pond to the left of their property? It is. All right. That's what it looks like here. It's just completely dry. Okay.
okay? Any other discussion? Anybody want to make a motion?
I'm prepared.
Well, you know what? You might as well finish the set.
Yeah. Let me pull it up here. Okay, I'm going to make a motion to approve this motion and to incorporate exhibits A through, what are the total?
E.
A through E, as well as the board's findings pertaining to the review of section 307.06 of the Genoa Township zoning regulation into evidence, and to approve the requested area variance from section 909.01B of the Genoa Township zoning resolution at the Glade Highland Lakes final development plan for BZA 2026-07 application received January 27th, 2026, to allow for an addition to encroach approximately 3 feet 3 inches into the required 7-foot side yard setback, with the corner of the addition located 3.9 inches from the side lot line on property known as Lot 7807 Glade at Highland Lakes, 5626 Sedgwick Lane, Galena, Ohio 43021, zoned planned residential, PRD. This is subsequent to the following findings of fact: that the variance will not be contrary to the public interest because the proposed addition maintains more than 29 feet of separation from any neighboring structure, well exceeding the 20-foot minimum side structure separation standard. No objections, objections were received from the neighboring property owners, but none from government departments, and Fire Marshal Cato reviewed the application with no concerns. Those objections, while we're certainly in good faith, were definitely noted, and we appreciate that input. Continuing the motion, because special conditions result in an unnecessary hardship, because the the 0.32 acre lot's dimensions and the existing home's footprint create a condition where functionally adequate addition requiring a minimum 16-foot width to provide 11 feet of usable interior space cannot be fully accommodated within the 7-foot setback. The hardship is not self-created, but is a product of the lot size and configuration within the Glade at Highland Lake subdivision, as our chairman has indicated. Also, given the rear setback and the desire to create an aesthetically curb appeal requested by the applicant. The approval is consistent with the spirit of the zoning regulations because the side setback and the structure separation standards are intended to preserve light, air, privacy, and safety between neighboring homes. The proposed addition satisfies the intent of these standards by maintaining over 29 feet of structure separation. The minor encroachment of approximately 3% of the addition footprint into the side setback does not undermine the purposes of the regulation. The conditions for the approval are all required permits, zoning or otherwise, shall be obtained prior to commencement of construction, in particular, anything having to do with drainage. The approved variance shall lapse and expire if permits are not obtained within 1 year of the date of approval. Extensions may be requested through section 307.11 A and B of the Genoa Township zoning resolution. The outdoor fireplace shall comply with applicable freestanding structure standards, minimum 7-foot side yard setback and maximum 12 feet in height. And we will grant the zoning inspector a discretion to extend at their discretion. So move.
I did want to make a comment on your motion, sorry about that. The fireplace would not be freestanding if it's inside the building,
Right.
so it would not be applicable to that. It would just be subject to the regular building, because this addition is going to have the same standards as what the house will have, other than it can extend into the side setback. So the fireplace, if it's incorporated into that building, will not be freestanding.
I amend my motion pursuant to that input, that it's subject to the interior requirements, not exterior.
That's right, it did come that way, didn't it? Okay. And I'm going to second your motion, Mr. Campanella. Any other discussion? No? Then we will call a vote. Mr. Campanella,
Yes?
Ms. Guest?
Yes.
Oh,
sorry.
you're right
Sorry,
there.
yes.
Mr. Wilcoxon?
Yes.
Ms. Yu?
No.
The chair votes yes. Your variance is approved. Thank you for going through the process tonight. It was a little bit arduous.
Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
A barbecue, like the last one.
You're all invited.
Okay, the only other thing we have on the agenda is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Ms. Guest, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No? Okay, we are adjourned at